Hello, I hope everybody's doing great. I hope everyone had a blessed week so far. Um, I want to start my program, which I've been wanting to do for a long time, about understanding our teens and children. Before I start, this is actually going to be part one because it is long. So obviously, I don't want to do it all at one time. So it's going to be part one. And I think this is so important. I always had the passion for the young people, for the youth, and of course for the children. And I always been passionate about helping them to understand that they are so loved. Because I know that it is not easy during the times of growing up, when they become teenagers, when they become adolescents. It's a very, very difficult time. And the truth is that a lot of times during this period, that is when the lack of communication occurs between the parent and their teens. So I think this is so important. Back when I was 40 years old, I went back to school because something that I always had in my heart and I was passionate about was to someday open a nonprofit organization for youth and families. And, that has not been able to be fulfilled, but I still do not see it as something that will never happen. I think it is never too late to start something, and everything is in God's timing. But nevertheless, I figured since I cannot open my nonprofit just yet, then let me start doing introducing these topics through my YouTube channel. And I hope that this topic will become a blessing for your life, for you and your children, so you to develop a better relationship, because I know that it is so scary. And sometimes I think and I say, whenever we buy an appliance or something that is a little bit complicated, it always comes with instructions. And, I've heard some people say, if only babies came with instructions. And I remember when I had my first child, our daughter, I was 21 years old. And of course I loved my daughter, having going through that experience and giving birth to your child. It's an amazing, extraordinary experience. And I don't know, I know there's a lot of women out there who hate to be pregnant, but I was one that loved to be pregnant. And during the pregnancies, I would bond, even though medically I would go through so much because I would start having early contractions, premature contractions at, at a very early stages in my pregnancy, that I would have to be on bed rest and I couldn't go to work. But forgetting all of that, just the bonding. So the moment that I knew that I was pregnant, I would start developing that bond. And it's something that you can't even explain. And then to give birth to this child and to realize and say, wow, what a creation, all this time this baby was being created within my womb, and to have that connection and that bond is incredible. But I think that sometimes it could be very scary at once we have this baby in our arms, and the baby cries day and night, and everything is new to you. And yes, we have people in our mothers and friends and family who are around us, helping us. Unfortunately, there are many women that don't have this blessing. They have to literally do everything on their own. But for those of us who had help around us, even though we had help around us, it would still at times, I'm sure that we were uncertain. Am I doing this right? And I want to be the best parent, the best mommy for this baby. and I want to be able to take care of this baby, and so forth, and so many things throughout their years as they grow. We see them changing in their stages, and when they take their first step, when they start crawling for the first time, when they say their first word, and so forth. And we're constantly, looking out for them. We figure this out on our own, because the truth is, babies do not come with instructions. But through the love that we feel for our children, for our babies, we end up learning, and we learn together as the years go by. But I think that, just like the baby, as they are babies, we know that the importance of being there as their parents and being their teachers and nurturing them with our love and our care. Taking care of our children doesn't stop once they become adolescents, once they become teenagers. I think that even more so when they become adolescents, when they reach their teens, that is more when they need us most, because it is very scary for them. They are reaching a stage where things around them are changing rapidly. They're almost going to high school, they're going to be graduating soon, and so many things. And the pressure of life and the demands of life, so many things are happening. And one thing that I realized, me as being a mother of 4, they're all different stages. I always pray to God, and I always tell God, please help me to be able to be there for my children, of course, as their mother, as teaching them from what's right and wrong, but most of all, allowing them to feel that they are loved, allowing them to know that I am proud of them, letting them know that if they happen to fall, if they happen to make a mistake, they can easily get up again, and I am there and I will help them, and they are not alone. And I think that one of the reasons why I always wanted to open a nonprofit for families and youth is because I think that in our society, one of the main problems is the lack of communication between parents and their children. It is such a tremendous lack of communication. And I, believe it or not, that breaks my heart. As I speak around with young people, and I ask them, and we talk, they come out and they say, I do not have a good relationship with my parents, or I'm not able to talk to my parents the way I wish I could. They're never there to listen to me, or they don't understand me, and so forth. And yes, I understand, of course, when there's things that they want to do and we know that it's not good for them, we know that it's not a good choice, and we relate that to them and letting them know this is not good for you is different, as opposed to when you or when us as parents completely create a wall between our children. And you may ask and say, but Brenda, how can that even be possible for a parent to create a wall between them and their children? And yes, I see it all the time. So many times the parents do not even know their children. And it is so important for us as parents to show our children how much we love them. And most importantly, let them know that they are not alone. Once they become adolescents and teenagers, They want so much, even though they might not show it, because they go through their moments that sometimes they isolate themselves, or sometimes they just have their moments that they just want to be in their room. But we are the parent. We have to take them out of that and talk and communicate. And sometimes you might not get the response that you're looking for, but at least you are trying. We are the parents, and we have to remember that as parents, when we took care of them as children, they need our care more than ever now as they are growing up, because they are becoming individuals, and knowing they are so seeking our love. They are so seeking that we accept them, that we see who they are as individuals. Letting them know sometimes, I am proud of you. Because the reason why I talk this is because I think sometimes as parents, we tend to only see when they're doing something wrong. And that's when we tend to say, look at your grades are really bad, or why did you do that, or you did this is not acceptable. And all we do is throw and throw and throw. But when they do something good, we tend to not even mention it. And meanwhile, they are expecting, they are how can I say, they are needing to hear that we are acknowledging and seeing the good that they are doing. Even if they get 1A, okay, I know we want them to pass all their grades, but if we know that they are struggling for some reason or another, or if they are failing all their classes, I encourage you, don't only scold them, find out why. Why are they failing all their classes? There has to be a reason. Why is it that they're not motivated to do good in school? There has to be a reason. Don't ignore it. Don't ignore the fact and say, oh, they're just doing it because they're lazy. Yeah, there could be some times that there are times that they just don't do it because they're lazy or carelessness. But I think in the most part, I just don't see it that way. I think in the most part, they are struggling. And there is something that's causing them to struggle. What is it? Are they feeling alone? What is it that when they lay down to sleep, they are thinking about it? How many times do you think that maybe your teenager, your adolescent lays down to bed crying at night, just wishing that you can go to them and embrace them and hug them and try to understand and help them out during their struggles? I think it is so important. We cannot just neglect. There's always a reason why. For an action or a certain action, there's always a reason why. There has to be a root. Where is it coming from? Why are they feeling this way? Why don't they feel motivated? By us simply saying to them, there's no reason for you to feel like that, snap out of it, that's not going to help them. That's not what they want to hear. So even if you have to reach out for a therapist, even if you have to reach out to somebody, a professional, to just help you out, to try to help your child, your teenager come out of this, that is all they're asking. And they will not come to us hardly and say, Mom, Dad, I need help. Because the reality is they know they need something, but they don't know what it is. Or sometimes, perhaps, maybe in some certain occasions, they might come to you and say, Mom, I need help, But then since you don't even understand or you don't even know what it could be, you just tend to brush it off and ignore it altogether. So I've seen this also. So I'm talking like this not because I want any parent to feel bad. No, I don't want that. I know that it is not easy also as parents when we are struggling with teenagers that are going through difficult times. And even sometimes, if they're going through difficult times, and as parents, we don't know how to reach out to them. We are trying, we just don't know how. And we just seem to be lost. What do we do about that? So there's so many struggles sometimes. And this is why I feel like I wanted to talk about this. Today, this is going to be part 1. But one of the purposes of this is teaching you about the 5 languages of love. In a marriage, it is important to learn about the 5 languages of love between the spouse, between the husband and wife. Because, believe it or not, that's so important. How I may feel loved may be different from the way they express it. But the same way goes with our children. We need to understand as parents, what is it that helps them feel that affection from us as their parent? What is it? So it's important to understand and learn this as well. So definitely the presence of a parent is so important because they are looking for that connection with you. They are looking they want to feel that bond. They want to feel that love that is so important. And I understand that life can be so hectic sometimes that there's times that we wonder how did time fly? How did time go so quickly? That in the midst of me working so hard and working 24/7, I did not have time to let my child know how truly I really felt about him or her, that I really love them and I'm so proud of them. But I was so stressed that I don't remember telling them that. If you are listening to me right now and you have gone through that experience and you are wondering how you can go back again and recuperate, recover those lost times, I'm here to tell you that we definitely cannot go back to the past, but we could start from the present moment. From this day forward, from this moment forward, you will start showing your child, your teenager, and expressing to them how much you love them, how proud you are of them, and be there for them. And you will be letting them know that they are not alone. I know that there's things that many homes go through that is so hard. Divorce. A lot of times there's single parents out there. To you single parents out there who are listening to me, I want to congratulate you because it takes courage. But I want you to know that you are not alone. That most importantly, if you put your trust in God, God will give you the strength. He will give you the wisdom and the knowledge to be able to understand your children, to be able to be there for them and help them. And if you cannot help them with a certain problem, there are so many resources out there. But most importantly, I encourage you to seek inner healing as well, because I think that there are so many parents out there, just as there are young people, teenagers crying out in silence because they feel that either neglect or they haven't felt that love or support from a parent. Same goes with so many parents out there today. They are also feeling the same from their children. So somewhere along their journey, something happened that created that division. And when that division came, a wall became right in between them. But I tell you today that God has the power to break that wall, and for you as parents with your children to start to develop that bond again, to find yourselves again, and to let your child know how much you love them. Your teenager needs you more than anything, more than ever before. Your teenager is crying out for that love of a parent, for that bonding. Um, so that requires time for you guys to be together. So if you haven't found time to be together because of your busy schedules, I encourage you to find time. If you haven't had dinner together in so long, I encourage you, make time to have dinner with your children. And one thing that I try to do now, have dinner with my children and tell them no cell phones. And I've been pretty busy myself lately that I haven't, it's been really rough. It's been hard sometimes because with the kids having activities and the school, and some are working and we're working, and so it could be difficult, could be a little bit difficult. But when I have the time, I make sure and I send a group text to everybody. Okay, guys, dinner tonight. And I want to make it that I enforce that when we have dinner, no cell phones on the table. Because I think that cell phones have taken so much of the bonding and communicating between the parents and their teens, because everybody is with their cell phones. Or okay, I'm busy, or you're working, and you're dealing with something at work, but meanwhile you're at the table eating. And I think that with so much going on in today's world and life, I think that we deserve to take some time out and just forget about technology and just sit and talk about us. So ask your daughter and your son, how was your day? How was school? How are your teachers? How are you feeling? And share something about you, about your life. How's your work? How's it going? Let them know too about your work. Let them know how you went. And one thing that I love about my children, they always ask me, Mom, how's work going? How are you doing? And they ask the same thing to their dad. How are you doing? And I always try to remember to ask them that. Sometimes my kids look at me like, Mom, are you all right? Because I'm constantly asking them, how was your day? How are your friends? Because I want them to know that I want to be involved. I want them to know that I am involved as a parent, that they're not alone. So we have to remember that power of communication is so important. Without that communication between you and your teenager, you eventually become strangers. You're living in the same household, the same house, and you are strangers because they don't know you and you don't know them. And I think that is so sad. I encourage you to connect, that emotional connection between you and your teenager. It's so important, because believe it or not, it might take a little effort at times, but believe it or not, with you not having that communication for a little bit, you will find yourself disconnected so quickly. A little bit more verbal instead of just texting. I think it is so needed, talking a little bit more. Even if you find that your teenager likes a certain program, talk about the program with them. Ask them what's going on, what happened there, and so forth. Another thing is something very important is the teens that the desire of acceptance, desire that they're accepted. You know, one thing that sometimes I've heard it before, and I think it's so sad when the teens come and tell you, I, you know, it really um, breaks my heart when they come out and they say, I feel like I'm a failure. I feel like I'm a disappointment to my parents. And I always say, you know, sometimes as they're growing up, we always envision them going a certain path, doing a certain career, doing a certain sport, because that's what we would like to do, or that's what we wish we could have done. But then they come along, and we have to remember that they develop their own personalities. You know, they have their own goals and their own dreams. But sometimes I think that as parents, we forget that. And because they don't want to do what we want them to do, or we hope that they would do, then we make them feel as if they are failures, or as if they're a great disappointment to us. And believe it or not, that feeling of not being accepted, or that feeling of rejection from their own parents, hurts more than being rejected by anyone else. Because being accepted by their mom and dad is so important. We want that so much. I mean, that is worth more than anything. And once we start feeling, or once they start feeling that they're a disappointment, that they're a failure, um, that becomes a feeling of rejection. And that is so dangerous, because those kind of feelings of rejection will end up creating feelings of insecurity, then depression, um, and that will affect whatever decision they make thereon. It's so important that they understand that we know they are developed, they are individuals, and we just want the best for them, and we want them to conquer and go for their dreams and goals. Maybe it's not what we were hoping for or what we wanted for them, but whatever it is that they want, we want them to know that we are there for them, to support them in whatever decision they make that's going to fulfill their life, their hearts, and give them happiness, because we just want them to feel love, and we want them to feel accepted. That's the main thing that they want, that they feel the love and acceptance from us as their parents, you know. um and I think that's one of the things that teenagers are lacking from today, a big, huge thing, feeling that they are not accepted by their parents. And that's why we see so many, due to that, that's the root of many teenagers going out there and rebelling and doing things that are even worse than what we could imagine. And that really breaks my heart. I think that accepting, it's the difference between we have to accept our teen, and at the same time correcting their behavior. But sometimes as parents, I think that we do not know how to show them that we accept them, but we just look at the behavioral aspect of it, or their mistakes, or what they're doing wrong, and we focus on that so much that we forget to allow them, or we forget to show our children, we love you, I love you. But we just do not accept this type of behavior. And so it becomes to the point that they feel completely rejected, and completely that we do not accept them as our children, or perhaps that we are embarrassed for being their parents. And you know what, that's one of the things that hurt more, I think. How many teens out there feel this way about their that they feel this, or they get this from their parents? Why am I bringing this again? It is not because I'm not judging anyone at all. We all go through our struggles. But I think that it is so important for us to understand and know um, our children, and to be able to show them our love and acceptance. And at the same time with this, I'm not saying we're not going to correct them. I'm not saying we are not going to show them between right and wrong. No, not at all. But we have to also understand that life is about making mistakes. It doesn't mean as they're growing up that they're not going to make mistakes, but we have to be there for them, making sure that they know that they are not going through this period of their life alone, that we are by their side every step of the way. So with this said, this is part 1. I'll see you in part 2. We will continue. The next one will talk about the teen's desire to be nurtured, and once we get to probably part 3, then we'll start discussing the 5 languages of love. God bless, and till next time, bye.